Speed running again. Boy, howdy, am I bored. If only I had an interesting category to run. If only someone would burst through my television right now, screaming in my face.
Oh yeah!
Whoa, it's Slime Pup, the mascot I always forget to...
You want an exciting category extension? Well, check this out! Dude battle with Mr. Duder! Dude!
Whoa!
You gotta fight the goat 3 times! Go it!
He's so goated!
Snakes, skeletons, and bombs to hurl! Dynamite!
Hey, wait a minute. This is kind of starting to sound like the Super Mario Kart commercial.
2 speeds, fast and way too fast! Are you a bad enough pup to challenge the dude 3 times?
Yeah!
Only at Nintendo!
If you're wondering what the heck it is that you just watched, you're asking too many questions, but also, I was explaining the ever silly doot percent I came up with a while back during a stream. It's not any percent, it's not 100%, it's not even a boss rush, just something silly that involves getting to Mr. Duder 3 times and beating him each time, thus successfully performing the doot. Now, while this may sound really dumb, that's mostly because, shocker, it's really dumb. The spirit of why I even came up with it stems from the idea that, despite how many fun categories like any percent and boss rushes are, games can offer so much more than the basics with enough creativity and people willing to experiment. Thus, the category extension was born. If you don't fit into the ever basic any percent hundo, or, at least in Kirby's case, boss rush name of the week, you can still find a home for your speed running idea. But what exactly is a category extension? Well, before I extend your knowledge on categories, please don't leave. Consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel if you like Kirby or Kirby speedrunning content. It would really help me out a ton if you did, especially since it makes Puppy super sad that over a third of you aren't subscribed to the channel. You're one free subscription extension away of making a puppy happy. Yay! If you're feeling extra generous, consider becoming a pup train on my Patreon or a mempup on YouTube. You get nifty perks, including early access to videos. Wow! Special thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan pup trains and mempups, Biohazard, Vilafar, Lydia Scribe, and Freakish Uproar. I love you all! So what the heckaroony is a category extension anyway? I explained the basics, but I mean, if your speedrunning idea is, I want to run to the left for 5 hours and call it Kirby Gets Exercise by running to the left for 5 hours percent, would that be a category extension? And the answer to that is, sure. Good luck finding anybody else who cares to run it, but sure, it fits the bill. Realistically, so long as it's something actually achievable in the game that doesn't just count as any percent, hundo, blah blah blah, the shoe fits. A more realistic idea than tiring out poor Kirby by basically doing nothing would be something like Metal Percent in Squeak Squad. It's an ability solo, so it's different from your standard any percents, and I mean, come on, you're using metal. Yeah, that's pretty epic to me. Meanwhile, typically something like a New Game Plus would not count as a category extension, since it would still fall under something like any percent. This isn't always the case, it really depends on the community, but at large, it is a good enough definition. And if good enough is all I need for head pats, well, that's good enough for me. All that being said, why would you actually run any of these? Yeah, they're fine, but any percent is right there. You're devoting yourself to a weird category that like 2 other people have ran, while any percent has dozens of runs with intense competition that everybody can't get enough of. And sure, that may not be the only question one would have when thinking the every omnipotent question, why, but it absolutely misses the point of what makes speedrunning so much fun. Sometimes you are just gonna get burnt out running any percent, or you just want to see more of what the game can offer. Have fun again. You're pushing wheel to its limit at Squeak Squad, yeah, and then some puppy says, oh my god, metal percent is the coolest category ever! And you know what? Maybe it is. There's only one way to find out, right? And there are category extensions of all kinds. Based on how mimetic a metal percent is, you may assume they all fall under a similar umbrella. Don't say parasol, don't say parasol, don't say parasol, don't say parasol. But the limit really is your imagination. For example, looking at one of, if not the goofiest games in the series, Kirby Superstar. There is so much potential here for category extensions. Where do we even start? How about completely wiping your cartridge's save data? Referred to as 000% because of the several Japanese memes referring to it as such, this is a speedrun to delete all of your save data via crashing the game as quick as you can. Obviously, anybody can hit delete save data like 3 times and be done with it, but this specifically involves making the game crash with save data already on it and, upon resetting, have your save data completely wiped. It's an interesting idea for a run, that's for sure, but it's undergone some developments in recent months. I know, permanently harming your Kirby game is something we're seeing advancement in. What a time to be alive. So, prior to all of 3 months ago, what was the strat that allowed you to memory wipe Kirby, causing permanent brain damage? Well, the process is a bit weird, but basically, if you go into Milky Way Wishes and clear all of the levels, get copy, use copy to get sleep, exit the level while holding L and R, talk to Nova. Well, your Switch isn't gonna crash. You can't pull this off on the Switch because NSO is boring. But if you did this on a cartridge, well, you need to reset. And when you get to the file select screen, uh-oh, Kirby forgot everything. Oopsie doops. It's very odd, and if you want to hear more about it, or you just want to hear more puppy, which I super understand, thank you, I talk about it in this video where I talk about tons of Kirby speedrunning crashes. But what insane strat was discovered 3 months ago by Zaplex, the current world record holder? Well, they were playing Revenge of Mennonite doing an any percent run, yeah, as you do. Then, once they beat Heavy Lobster, they soft reset because that's what you do, and an any percent run when you beat Heavy Lobster. Remember to write this down so you can practice later, kids. Then, the game wouldn't load after the soft reset. So, he manually, reset the game, and, when the game turned back on, it just decided, hey, we're gonna, wipe the save data. Yep, happened entirely by accident. I'm using the power of editing here to make it look like, sorry. I am not using the power of editing because I'm the coolest pup ever and I can pull this off on my first try. But the fact that a category extension with as funny of an idea as this has a world record that happened by complete accident and probably can't be easily recreated is funnier than any joke that I can make here. Oh, maybe I'm not the coolest pup after all. But what if I told you that there's an even luckier category, which is also potentially a funnier category, but by extension being that much more funny than this puppy? Sad. Perhaps the most well-known category extension for any Kirby game comes from Kirby Air Ride's legendary 5 hot dogs %. What do you do in such a legendary category anyway? You pick City Trial and try to find 5 hot dogs. And that's it. I can't really make this any grander than I already have. Yeah. Made up on a whim one day by Pear Strike, the idea is just literally to get 5 hot dogs. I can't explain any more details since that's all there is to say, but the bizarre meta that came out of this silly idea would definitely make you think otherwise. It really is just luck. Not much more for me to say on it, but if there is anything that I can say, it's that the secret area that the game randomly decides to give you sometimes to get inside for stat boosters can also have food, thus also having hot dogs. Many a PB is made by getting these hot dogs, but at the same time, it's super luck-based, and so many different things can appear there, even if it's nice enough to show up, so, good luck. Literally, good luck. Aside from that, I've got nothing, so fun fact here, there are 54 submitted runs of this on speedrun.com. Yes, over half of 100 people have pushed themselves to their limits just to have Kirby eat 5 hot dogs. For context, that's more than the following categories that already exist for Kirby Air Ride. Top Ride all tracks, City Trial any percent, Top Ride any percent, Air Ride any percent, Full Game Hundo, all tracks no duplicate rides, Air Ride all rides all tracks, City Trial Hundo, Top Ride Hundo, Air Ride Hundo, Triathlon, Max Stats, and all stadium events. Literally, all of the categories on speedrun.com have less runners than this, except for Air Ride all tracks. It's a really big deal of a category. Of course, we're having good fun, but that doesn't mean all, or even most, category extensions are luck-based. Some are super silly and super short, too. For example, while this technically isn't a full-blown category extension, basically what I'm saying is that it doesn't exist on speedrun.com, Kirby Superstar Ultra has its own silly brand of things that you can do outside of the norm. It may not be nearly as jank as the original, but I wouldn't be calling this the best game ever made if there wasn't tons of room for category extensions, now would I? There's so much here, even if you don't count something like Helper to Hero, because that is a boss rush and everything. Gourmet Race is a personal favorite of mine, especially getting super fast times in Course 3, where Parasol can actually compete with Wing. Wow! But the one that I really wanted to talk about today is one you probably aren't going to find a category for, but is a category that exists and is way different than it is in the original KSS, that being Crash the Game percent. In KSS, you do stuff for like 10-20 seconds and you crash the game. It's very KSS. For Ultra, though, now that's a different story. For one, just like KSX actually, you crash the game in Dynablade, but unlike Superstar Original, you only start with Spring Breeze. So you... Sorry, I'm just so clever. So you breeze through Spring Breeze. Spring Breeze is an IL, individual level, in and of itself, but we can talk about that another day. For now, once you unlock Dynablade, you head straight for that mix. But instead of mixing for Jet like a normal person would, you mix for Suplex! Wow, Suplex! What a cool ability! Totally a fan favorite that I don't feel alone on genuinely loving! Anyway, once you get Suplex, you can zoom through the level pretty quick until you get to the final room. Once there, zoomy until you get to the bomber. Wait for the bomber to fall off, grab the bomber, and when you get close to the ground, press A to do this super long, whoa, dive, and boom, game crashes. I'll be honest, I have no idea why it does this, but since at least one of the bomber and the mini boss are a trigger that's needed, this is the soonest that it can be done. But hey, KSSU has its own soft lock percent, just like the original Superstar. It still doesn't take very long. You actually get to enjoy some of the game beforehand, and look, I really like Suplex, okay? It's just fun. I like running, hitting B, and seeing the Kirby manifestation of the zoomies. And I know, other abilities are faster than Suplex, but look at this! Zoomies! Yay! Category extensions don't all have to be about breaking your game, though. I mean, yeah, we saw that with the hot dogs before, but that's like a luck-based category? Are category extensions about the rawest display of skill all about crashing Kirby games? Of course not. I wouldn't even entertain that thought. If we look at one of the more popular Kirby Speed games for its very simplistic nature, Nightmare in Dreamland has tons of potential for no RNG category extensions. But first, have you ever wondered what I smell like? Hey, don't click off the video. I promise this isn't anything weird. I'm just saying, if you want to know my scent, I have a candle. It is called the Vanilla Fluffle Scented Candle, and I think it came out really, really well. At the checkout, you can either decide to get a normal candle or one with a wooden wick if you like to hear that crackling sound. I don't think that's it, but that's the sound that I wanted to make in the moment. Not only is this website a trusted source, and you can have a little more Fluffle in the house, and if you use the link in the description down there, you will also be supporting me for no extra cost. Thank you very much again to Candle for this opportunity. This isn't a sponsored video or anything, I just wanted to let you guys know I have a candle now. Now, on with the video! One very fun example that, while it isn't technically exclusive to Nightmare, is definitely at its most fun here, World Map RTA. Basically, on a 100% clear save file, you start from the door in 1-1, entering the level and quitting for perfect positioning is positively cool, and get to the door in 7-6 as quickly as possible. As I'm sure you can tell by the description, as well as the footage playing in the background, if you're the type who watches that stuff, I'm that type, don't worry. This is a very short run. As in, it's not even a minute long. Wow. Length is never a factor in the validity of a run though, so what ultimately matters is, how fun is it? The answer is very fun. It's bizarrely addicting, trying to beat your best time of doing something as mundane and unnecessary as zooming through the Nightmare World maps. This is actually something I did as a young pup, although I was much slower then because pups that young aren't really smart at all, but it really took me back when I first learned that this was an extension, and I'm glad that it's this much fun. And while the best ability to do these zoomies with is definitely high jump, you can combine this category with the ability solos that I'm so obsessed with and zoomie through the world map with your favorite. Obviously, I did this with Parasol, decidedly not optimal compared to high jump, but you know what? I had fun. In fact, I literally just now, big puppy brain here, got an idea. Check this out. A full run of World Map RTA, but you use every ability. That actually sounds really fun. Way too enjoyable for me to pass up, so I'm sure I'll be talking about it more in the future at some point. That said, category extensions truly thrive in games where creativity is encouraged. And nothing wrong with any of the games that we just talked about, not to mention Kirby totally cheats here, and like all of these games encourage an insane amount of creativity. But if there is one game that dared to play different, it was Amazing Mirror, and the category extensions here go real deep. Today, since I can never stop myself from talking about this category, we'll talk about All Sprays, my favorite run of Amazing Mirror. If you want super details on what makes All Spray so much fun, I've talked about it multiple times. It is a video where I go over 10 different Amazing Mirror speedruns. Is a great start. But for a simplified version, or as simple as I can get it to be, sorry, Puppy just really loves this category, instead of getting to the end and pawning Dark Mind, you collect every spray. Timer starts on starting a new game, as always, but ends when you go to the gallery and confirm you've gotten every single spray. On paper, yeah, the routing would be very different from any percent, but otherwise, why is this even a category to begin with? Who cares about sprays other than... Ah, shoot, everybody who plays this game cares about sprays. Yeah, one super great thing about All Sprays is that spray paint itself is arguably the most popular and well-desired of the collectibles in this game. I know I want that ocean spray before any other treasure in the game, and with All Sprays, I can get that. I even go into the gallery to change my paint color to ocean when I run this. Is it a time loss? Sure, but ocean is really easy to get, so why waste such a wonderful opportunity? The ability variety in All Sprays is also pretty rad. Sure, you see wheel, but you also get some missile action, some sword slaying, some stone slamming, and most importantly of all, and this is for the ocean spray, so you know I'm happy about this, Mini! The most epic of all copy abilities. I love not being able to float in the air. I love not being able to exit rooms. I love being able to collect the ocean spray only because Mini is so epic, and this is totally not a gag. Like and subscribe. But for real, like and subscribe. Also, it's mostly just a matter of Amazing Mirror being a really fun game to play. It's not perfect, sure, but routing the sprays like this really opens your eyes to how much there is to do in a game this simple. The category similar to All Sprays exist, like all Go games, but All Sprays, at least for me, stands out because the routing is just so much fun to plan out and perform, and on top of that, it gets you a reward that is genuinely satisfying. And it may not actually be epic, but routing around having to use Mini, genuinely hilarious. This is all well and good, and I love all of these games and runs, but a fair concern you may have is that category extensions only exist for older games. I haven't talked about anything in the 2020s, not to mention the 2010s, so I understand why one would think that. However, category extensions can exist for any game, and, at least as far as the speedrun.com leaderboards are concerned, there is enough variety to be found in Forgotten Land to have a multiple enjoyable category extension speedruns. Why did I specify it that way? The category extension of choice, however, for this video was obvious. Why pay attention to any other category when you can go home and sleep? An entire speedrun devoted to the most horrifying aspect of being a gamer. Wow. Long story short, if you collect 50 Waddle Dees, you unlock Kirby's house. One of the things you can do as a homeowner is sleep. You even get a nice comfy bed to sleep in. Wow, I'm sure at least one person watching is feeling real called out right now. So I'm super sorry about that. But once Kirby is shown sleeping is when the speedrun ends. And most of you are probably thinking, aside from this being such a silly concept and all, wouldn't this just be like any percent? Well, no, because you don't get 50 Waddle Dees until late into World 3. Even if you skip Klaire and don't have to watch the agonizingly long cutscene that plays after, you're still wasting a lot of time that you wouldn't be wasting by playing. So wouldn't this just be hundo or all Waddle Dees then? Still no, because you can strategically skip certain Waddle Dees so long as you finish a level with 50 Waddle Dees. So when you go back to the village, you get Kirby's house, blah, blah, blah. The things you skip are just notable enough to where it feels different from a hundo playthrough or all Waddle Dees. It's genuinely interesting. The closest comparison would have to be all Waddle Dees for this run, just because you get so many of them. But the ones you skip out on make sense. For example, in the third level of the game, you get a secret Waddle Dee by sneaking into a thin area past some of the rolling rocks. Thankfully, since we watch for rolling rocks, we can get into this area fine. However, if we climb the ladder, we can use a mouthful mode to free a captive Waddle Dee from his spherical prison. However, that Waddle Dee's gonna have to wait until after we go to bed, cause it just takes way too long. You don't wind up skipping that many Waddle Dees, but the ones you do skip are made that much more interesting and notable because of that. You don't think twice about Waddle Dee number 33 that you're gonna collect in this run, but Waddle Dee number 2 that you skip? Oh no, that Waddle Dee's gonna be so sad. This being similar to all Waddle Dees, of course, you see some differences compared to any percent, like using Sword against Goromondo instead of normal or Ice. He's the only boss we actually have to fight for this run, but basically having nothing but missions is too good to pass up with boss fights. Now, this is a very useful, very universal tip for Forgotten Land speedrunning, but if possible, you really want to focus on clearing the secret missions instead of rescuing the Waddle Dees. The animation that plays when you do save a Waddle Dee, it just takes a lot of time, much more than a checkbox being cleared while you're still free to move around and, you know, not waste any time. For all Waddle Dees are a hundo, this wouldn't really matter since you want to get all of them for any percent and go to bed by extension. This is very important while routing and running. The run doesn't wind up going very far, stopping at 2-1 or Abandoned Beach if you haven't played a game prior to the 2020s, but that's okay. Not every run has to see things through to the very end, and just having a simple, fun run like this is more than enough for me. Plus, it's way shorter than your average Forgotten Land run, giving this game a category that feels very arcade-like. It's something most Kirby games made after KSSU lack. And if I'm comparing you to Superstar Ultra, best game ever made, you know you're doing something right. Also, speedrun literally ending on the best possible moment, pretty based. I ranked Sleep very highly on my ability tier list. Go check out that video if you want to know why I think Sleep is top tier and Mirror is decidedly mid. If there's one takeaway I think you should have from this video, it's that there really is a lot going on when speedrunning. In a good way, of course. Any percent is always going to be the most popular, most accessible kind of speedrun you can do ever, and Hundo will always be the extension of that. Heck, for Kirby, I think Boss Rush popularity is only going to get more appealing with more games. The Kirby bosses are just really fun like that. But that's not everything that these games have to offer, and at the end of the day, just having fun and goofing around with a weird kind of speedrun is a great way to unwind and enjoy a game in a way you never thought you could. It's funny, I suggest people speedrun games they really like because it's a good way to get higher replay value out of games you really like. So what do you do when you get tired of speedrunning? Try speedrunning. Slap that one on a commercial. Oh, Slime Pup, please. We're so close to the end of the video. Don't put more editing stress on me. Whew. Alright, well, as they say, a tired pup still has to make videos. Nobody says that, but for now, I have been Klaire. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye!